So this video is inspired by TKizaru, user who uploaded a video of killing Endbringer in a shop bought scale. It wasn't as it came from the shop. He then bought different weapons and armour from the shop to kit it out and added some augments. I'd wanted for a while to do a video of killing Endbringer with someone other than the main character, so I thought I'd step it up a notch. So this is Celica killing Endbringer with shop bought gear. I've aggroed Endbringer in the same spot that I did for my longsword kills with the main character, but it's going to take a little bit longer, as firstly it's not the main character, so she's nowhere near as broken, and then her weapons and her armour are things bought from the shop. There is no farmed gear here other than augments. I don't think you could do it without augments. The first phase is fairly easy. Doing this video has taken over 40 attempts on Endbringer. The fails at the first phase were generally if I aggroed him in the wrong spot. If you do your first hit with the skell in slightly the wrong place, he stops out of range of this rock, so you have to start again at that point. I'd jump off the cliff normally and then return the skell if possible to retain my TP total rather than just dying, and rather than having to fly up again. But generally the attacks in the first phase are quite easy. I don't think he uses Collider X, and he doesn't use anything physical. There are a few bits that can be problematic. So the Big Bang move and the Ether Storm move can both knock you off the cliff, and you can't get back into range if that happens. Additional to that, I've forgotten the name. There's a move that puts you to sleep, which then leaves you exposed to another attack. So it can put you to sleep, or it can knock you flying. Additionally, every Ether Storm can give you Ether Resistance down. At that point, any of the other moves can kill me. Multi-Ether Laser can wipe out the whole of the decoy buff from the Ghost Walker on its own. So you have to do a new decoy, a new Ghost Walker for every multi-ether laser, basically. So as I've just described, there's nothing that there's no art that can kill me in this first phase, but there are a couple of really dangerous ones. So there's Sensitive Mind, that's the one that can put you to sleep, and then the other two, Ether Storm and I think it's Big Bang, can knock you off the cliff, and so the fight's over if that happens. The only other way you die is one of the arts, I think it's Ether Storm, can give you Ether Resistance down, and then another art can kill you. So now I've quickly got myself back to 4,500 TP, because I want it at max to start the next phase, and we're going down to phase 2. Phase 2 is the hardest part of the fight with the setup I've got here. For someone who understands how the game works and is familiar with Endbringer, they'll know what I mean when I say I have negative physical resistances and what that means for phase 2. So I start the overdrive before Endbringer even lands and start trying to build it up. So at the moment I'm just trying to build overdrive camp as quickly as I can. I've got Ghost Walker up, but it's not going to do very much. Well, it'll handle the first attack or so. I'm also spamming Barrier, which can block a little bit if Ghost Walker fails. Well, if Ghost Walker's used up. So there's the multi-ether laser, so my Ghost Walker's gone, but I've done another one quickly. And there's the tail whip, which would kill me if it hit. So every single one of those has to be Ghost Walkered. I was trying to watch every art that Endbringer did and react to them during this phase. I found that I couldn't survive with some generic rotation. It had to be a reactive play. So I failed here several times. Whereas phase 1, the danger was falling off the cliff or aggroing it in the wrong place. Here the danger is very much its attacks. There's the tail whip that can kill you. It's also got a move called Roar that can one-shot me, and even Slash with his claw can one-shot me. So Ghostwalker has to be in place for any of those, or Barrier. Barrier can save me as well, it seems. Anyway, I've got the overdrive count to max now, so I'm going to start trying to kill it. So I'm rebuilding my TP, it seems. I generally wanted to keep close to max TP all the time. Probably wasn't that necessary in this phase, though I did need to make sure that full specs never dropped, and I never wanted unnecessary delays between executioners, so I wanted to always have TP left over and be able to up full specs. And then I'm being a bit careful because I never want to leave myself without a Ghostwalker when a physical attack might happen. So yeah, I think that was a moment where if the Ghostwalker had been half a second later, I probably would have died. So the multi for laser wipes out the Ghostwalker completely, so it's pretty risky at that point. All those misses on me, that is the counter spike from Endbringer, but I have 100% spike evasion. So I don't think those were interacting with my Ghostwalker. If they were, I was a lot luckier than I thought to survive through all of this, because there's no reason for the tail whip there to have missed, for instance, except the Ghostwalker. So here my Ghostwalker's down from that multi-ether laser, and I couldn't redo it. I think the barrier kept me alive there instead. Yeah, the commentary isn't live. I couldn't commentate whilst doing this, just in case anyone's wondering. It was a bit too tricky, and also it took too many attempts. I died in phase 2 a lot of times, as I said, though I think my main cause of failure was just simply aggroing Telethia in the wrong place in phase 1, so restarting straight away. So this is going down quite slowly because I am just trying to keep up Ghostwalker or Barrier all the time and really focus on that rather than focusing on the damage, because I know that any one of those physical attacks would kill me. I experienced that several times. So the claw hits, the tail whip, or the roar, they're all one shots. I was trying sometimes to watch for the name of the attack and respond, but I found it was a bit too difficult to do all my moves and to keep the camera at the right angle so I could see the names of the attacks. I tried targeting different appendages to do that, but I found Endbringer moved around too much for it to be a feasible method of doing it. So I had to learn to work instead with the sounds it was making, and with sometimes just hoping for the best. So here, waiting for the attack to Ghostwalker it before then going into the executioner. That Ghostwalker was probably a bit early, but it was okay. And here we go, I think. This will be it, phase 2 done. Yeah. So I'll refill the TP. You might notice the video jump in a moment because I did pause the game briefly here, and I cut out the pause. So I need the rest after that. So you did see that probably. I just pressed the home button and waited, and took a breather before going up to phase 3. So phase 3 is a lot easier than phase 2. Phase 2 was very hard. Phase 3, I think I made it to phase 3 3 times, and so obviously one of the 3 was the win. The main difficulty in phase 3 is just getting Endbringer down to the ground. So I think my fails in phase 3, I can't remember whether they were both this issue or, yeah, I think they both were. So you have to draw Endbringer down to somewhere where you can hit him, and the first 2 times I drew him to one of the platforms that's sort of halfway down, and then I made a mistake of some kind and let myself get knocked off the platform and was stuck on the ground without my Skell and couldn't manage to draw him down. So this third time I made it to the 3rd phase and the successful time, what I did was draw him all the way to the ground. I spent quite a while doing this. This bit's going to be a bit tedious. If you just want to see Celica fighting, you might want to skip on a bit right now. This is going to take a while. I have put relevant resistance augments on the Ares so that it's not getting blown up by all those attacks. I originally was thinking of using a weaker Skell as part of the challenge, but I decided that wasn't really what this was about. The key thing was that I was doing the fight with Celica, not how I was aggroing and drawing Telethia. So I'm not doing any damage with this Ares, it's just for drawing Telethia down into range. As I said a moment ago, it takes quite a while to do though. I had thought of trying using the level 20 Skell with relevant augments on, but I decided it would be more effort than it was worth, probably wouldn't work, and would be very annoying to get. It would probably work for phase 1, because all you have to do is hit it once and get out, but for phase 3 here, it wouldn't survive long enough. Almost certainly. It might do. I can't know without testing it, but I'm pretty certain it wouldn't. So I could have used a level 50 Skell perhaps. So it was bought from the shop along with the weapons and armour. But I decided that was a step I wasn't going to take. Would have been extra setup time for little difference, I think. So unfortunately I've been put to sleep here, so that's a little bit tedious. And Collider X trying to blow up my Ares. But I finally got him low enough so I could start. Here we go. I think I was just waiting for him to do his next art, so I got out after it to block the art with the getting out animation, or with the Skell, rather than something that can happen, and definitely happened to me in phase 2 a few times, was I'd time getting out wrong, get out just as he starts an art, and I can't Ghost Walker fast enough, and so you die. So this is the bit where I can't actually hit him, because he's got the Soul Read buff on, which means it's basically a massive decoy. So the next sort of, it's more than 100 hits I think it is that it makes miss. So I'm just trying to get my overdrive up to max without actually hitting him. So this is where the fact that I've got an overdrive count augment on was absolutely vital. I don't think I could have done this without that. It would have been too hard, I think, to keep overdrive going without being able to hit without the count augment. So I'm working my way through the decoy buff at this point by just spamming 0-0, and I think I'm nearly there. So got my energy source on ready in hope that the execution will start doing damage. I think I was probably ghost walkering more than I need to. I was a bit cautious at this stage, as it had been several hours of trying to get to this point, as I described, with the various phase 1 fails and several phase 2 fails to get to the point of being able to do this. So here I fired that secondary executioner just as a way of cutting into the decoy, because there's no reason to do more damage when you can't even hit him. It's to get through the decoy, it is just purely a case of producing enough hits, or what would be hits if not for the decoy. So it is just counting down the number of times the number of hits that would hit him if not for the buff, and then it goes away when it gets to the number, which, as I said, I think is somewhere well in excess of 100. Which is one reason why it would be very difficult to do this with a melee weapon. It'd be very difficult to do an Endbringer kill that doesn't just phase 1 it with something that's not ranged, because you just struggle for the hit count. So I'm using 0-0 with 10 hits and executioner with 12, and it's taking me this long to cut through the soul read. There we go, I'm through it at last. I may have been able to get through it a bit faster if I was ghost walkering less, but so yeah, with a lower hit count weapon, it would be very difficult. Though I could be using more offensive arts and less defensive arts. I possibly went for quite a defensive build here, as you see, with the barrier, repair, ghost walker. That's 3 defensive arts. But I think I wouldn't have managed it without all of those. I certainly was making extensive use of barrier and ghost walker. I used repair several times on various of my failed attempts. I don't think it actually ended up mattering except for gaining TP on this successful attempt, because I don't think I let my ghost walker slip at all. It was a good recovery from a slipped ghost walker several times on other tries though. Anyway, I'm now cutting through Telethia's life, bringing it down a bit at a time. Unfortunately, its evasion goes up quite a lot in phase 3, so Sedative Mind is trying to put me to sleep, but thankfully I just used Ghost Walker, so it's not going to hit. I'm just rebuffing myself to make sure I keep the damage level high. I was probably a bit slower than I should have been there. It would have been good to get this executioner in faster. Ideally, I should fit all the rebuffs within the time of the cooldown. That's a bit better. I didn't need to rebuff that time though, so. But to be honest, I probably don't need the barrier in this phase, but I'm just doing it anyway. Because you don't have the physical attacks here, so whilst there's a tedious soul read to cut through, it's actually a much easier phase than phase 2. Once you've got him to the ground. Because the only non-ether art he's doing in this phase is the Collider X. So it's fairly easy to have Ghost Walker at the right times. Ether Storm can give you ether resistance down, and then another art would be able to kill me after that, but that's pretty safe because he doesn't do Ether Storm that often, and if I did fail to Ghost Walker an Ether Storm, I can repair after it, so it's not something to worry about too much. I've got the mechanisms there to survive fairly easily. The other way I can die is if the full specs runs out and Ghost Walker runs out, my ether resistance is low enough for his arts to start doing significant damage at that point. It's only with full specs that they don't do. It's only with full specs and without ether resistance down that his arts aren't killing me. But that's two things to get wrong, though, for anything to kill me here. Now, when I was doing it, I was hoping I was about to win at this stage. So I thought this was about to be it. But then he readed the soul read. But I've already got max overdrive count, so, and all my buffs and so on, so it's a lot quicker to cut through it here. So I'm just basically using all of my arts, well, I'm using 0-0 and Executioner as fast as I can here to keep cutting through it. Well, not quite, I could have done it faster there. Not sure why I was nervous about getting hit for some reason. And then I've just got a bit far away, so I'm getting closer. And here we go. Primer there is just purely for TP games, I don't want to run out. And we're through the soul read, so here we go. Always want to do Executioner ranged combo, so you always do a gun art before it, so it does more damage that way. And at this point there wasn't really anything left to worry about, it was just a case of wrapping it up. And I think, is it going to be one more or two more? So overall, I'm probably rebuffing and doing Ghost Walker more than I need to. So I probably could have done this end a little bit quicker, but considering how difficult it had been, I'm sure you understand. And am I going to finish it with a 0-0, or was it the Executioner? I can't remember. No. Yeah. Okay. 0-0 just doesn't do any noticeable amount of damage, as you can see. Here we go. I've lost my buffs at the end there, actually, so that last Executioner was quite low damage. But it did the job. And there we go. I now cut to another video where I explain what I did. So I didn't record it at the same time. I'm just going to talk quickly through how I did that kill and what it entailed. How it worked. So here is Celica, the star of the show. My character had no involvement at all. You just can't take him out of your party, as you see he's wearing combat assault rifle, combat knife, no armour at all, just fashion gear so that he's not indecent, and no arts, so he couldn't do anything. So it's all about Celica. Celica was carrying Delta Dyads 2, those are the Candid and Credible dual guns that you can get from the shop, the top level dual guns from the shop. Carbide List, that's an Orphean Technologies knife from the shop, and then a full set of light Meredith & Co armour from the shop. I have, however, put some augments on it. I've also done some upgrades. I got my upgrades wrong. I originally bought only 4 pieces of armour for some reason and worked out how to get anti-spike up to 100% with that, which I didn't need to do because 5 pieces of armour and no upgrades would have had the anti-spike at 100%. I probably didn't need the anti-spike in that in that the spike is ether, and I had a lot of ether resistance. However, I think in phase 2, the spike was probably how I was. The anti-spike was probably how I was surviving. So in phase 2, Telethia has basically a counter spike. Whenever you hit it, it hits you, and that would have burned from my Ghost Walker instantly if I use a 0/0 or Executioner. But with 100% anti-spike, well, actually more than 100%, which was unnecessary from these upgraded pieces of armour, that was a solved matter. I used a few upgrades on Overdrive Gain TP as well, just so that my overdrives weren't as expensive. I should have used all the upgrades on Overdrive Gain TP, as the anti-spike upgrades were irrelevant because it was over 100%. Meredith & Co. light armour has ether resistance, so I had 50 ether resistance as my basic, which was very useful. It meant that a lot of Telethia's arts couldn't do significant damage to me. I then have on the guns, I upgraded ranged accuracy boost to max. If I'd upgraded potential boost instead, I would have done slightly more damage, but accuracy was a big issue. You might have noticed me missing during the fight, as it was. Then I got an Arts Gain TP augment. I needed that to make things flow, particularly building overdrive count quickly in phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 3, where you can't even hit Endbringer for quite a while, it would have been impossible to keep overdrive without that Arts Gain TP, or maybe some extension augments or something. Nullify Ether Reflect, you can't do the fight without that, you just kill yourself. Ranged accuracy up, it's very hard to hit, so I needed that. Onto the knife, I've got an overdrive count up augment for fast building the count in phase 2, and also for building the count before you start hitting in phase 3. I think that was completely necessary. Ranged accuracy up again. Even with 2 of those, I was struggling to hit. And a secondary cooldown reducer. That's really a flex spot. I could have had almost anything there. I thought a secondary cooldown reducer was good, so I could have more secondary and tertiary Ghost Walkers, and also so I wasn't waiting as long for Executioner, because basically tertiary Executioners were the only thing doing any significant. Onto the armour, I've got 3 potential up augments and 2 aura rapid cooldowns. More potential would have meant more damage. The 2 aura rapid cooldowns I found was the minimum I could get away with to survive phase 2, because I had to Ghost Walker basically before every single physical attack, or I would die, and it was quite hard to do that. Hence 2 aura rapid cooldowns. More would have made it easier, but then I would have done less damage and the fight would have taken longer, or it might not even been possible, particularly in phase 3 with the big regen. So that was the gear, as you can see, all bought from the shop, plus some more. And then skills, I've got Mindscape for extra TP. I could have had anything there in a way, but it was useful to have a bit more than 3k TP, because I wanted overdrive and then full spec straight away. Inner Search, boost my damage, and finally Steady Hand, add more accuracy. Every bit of accuracy is needed. Onto the arts. So full specs increases the damage done by Executioner, also increases 0/0, but that wasn't that relevant here, and also increases my ether resistance, which was helping with me not taking too much damage. Energy Source, this just boosts the damage that Executioner does in the context of this fight. Primer, this is purely a TP battery, because I just needed to gain TP faster than I was otherwise. I thought Ghost Walker, that was keeping me alive quite a lot of the time. Repair was basically just in case I was given an ether resistance down debuff. I was a couple of times, that was necessary for that. Absorber Skin was mostly a backup against the physical attacks in phase 2, but I just spammed it whenever I had nothing else to do, particularly doing it into 0/0 was a good way of gaining TP, but it helped me stay alive a few times as well. Executioner, main damage dealer, pretty much the only significant damage art that I could make work in this context. I don't think there was a different option that would have worked from Celica. So that was the build. As you can see, I have not used a single piece of hard to acquire gear. This is all from the shop. For fashion gear, I'm having Celica wear the outfit she has on when you recruit her, and then a nice little flower in her hair, so I thought it looked nice. But all the gear she's actually using is from the shop, though obviously I've used augments, which you could get from reward tickets, or by farming some mostly easy to farm enemies. Secondary cooldown reducers are a bit tricky to farm, but I know Artscape TP take a little while. But there's nothing hard here, there's nothing that takes a long time. The hard thing was the fight itself. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see me attempt. I'm not sure if I can beat what I've just done though. I can't think of another challenge to go for after that. But do give me your...